We were spending our January vacation in Miami, Florida, where I had lived for a few years as a child. I was excited to take my husband and daughter to the same beach I grew up going to with my parents. It was interesting to see how much the area has changed. We went on a weekday, so it wouldn't be as crowded. In fact, it felt oddly deserted. I spread our blanket on the sand as my husband beelined for the ocean. A smile crept over my face as I saw my daughter plant herself near the water and start digging in the sand, exactly like I used to do. I started searching through my bag for the sunscreen, and when I looked up again, she had dug a hole nearly 2 feet deep. She reached in, pulled something out, and held it up to the sun. I saw it glimmer. It was a ring. It looked antique, with a large green gem in the center. "Finders keepers," she kept saying. I looked around and didn't see anyone it could possibly belong to, so I agreed. Finders keepers. Pretty soon, a dark fog rolled in and the waves got pretty rough. So we decided to go back to the hotel. The next day, we woke up at 6 a.m. to find our daughter already awake. She looked really tired and said she couldn't sleep at all. Despite the dark circles under her eyes and how tired she felt, she kept nagging us to go back to the beach. But we couldn't, since we were heading to the airport soon. After we arrived home, we went through the usual post-vacation routine of unpacking and doing laundry. As I emptied my daughter's suitcase and tried to shake the sand from everything, the ring fell out of her swimsuit. I told her we would put it in a safe place, but all she wanted to do was go back to the beach and bury it. When I told her it would be a shame to bury something so pretty, she became hysterical. Not knowing what to do, I agreed that the following weekend we could drive out to the beach about an hour from our house and bury it there. But she screamed no. It has to go back to the beach in Miami. My husband said we should just take it away and hide it. Out of sight, out of mind, right? So that's what we did. Our daughter stopped sleeping at night. After nearly a week of this, we took her to see a doctor. Blood tests showed nothing physically wrong, so then we took her to see a child therapist. From outside the room, we could hear our daughter getting increasingly agitated, and then start to cry and eventually scream. Something about a man in a big hat coming into her room at night and yelling at her about the ring. The therapist brought us into the room and almost accusingly asked if we knew who this man might be. We were at a loss. The therapist strongly suggested all of us see a psychiatrist who might recommend medical treatment. This had gone far enough. That night at bedtime, we sat in our daughter's room to see what was going on. She said the man wouldn't come if we were there, but we weren't leaving. Not until she fell asleep or something else happened to explain why she couldn't. And so we sat there, holding our daughter's hand, praying she would fall asleep. Her eyes were heavy, and she actually started to drift off. So did we, until I heard a noise and jolted awake. My husband has slept through earthquakes, and tonight was no different, but my daughter was wide awake and staring at the wall, almost in a trance. Her eyes were focused on something, so I rubbed my eyes and squinted to see what she might be seeing. And there it was. A faint shadow of a man in a long coat and a big hat. The more I stared at it, the clearer the figure became. He was moving in an almost aggressive way, like he was angry. My daughter appeared to be listening intently, but try as I might, I couldn't hear anything. I must have screamed because my husband was suddenly awake and ran to turn on the light. The shadow figure disappeared. Still not sure exactly what I just witnessed, I asked my daughter what the shadow man said. She said he told her that he buried jewelry on the beach a long time ago and wanted the ring back. The next day, I boarded a plane for Miami. I remembered the exact spot where my daughter dug up that ring, and that's exactly where it would go back. Silly? Maybe. But I was willing to try anything at that point. On the plane, a young couple sitting next to me struck up a conversation. They were on their way to Tampa for an event called the Gasparilla Festival. When they showed me the brochure, my heart started to pound. The festival is a huge annual parade thrown in honor of a pirate named Jose Gaspar. Legend has it he terrorized the Gulf of Mexico around Florida and buried a vast treasure in the area before leaping to his death to avoid being captured by a U.S. Navy ship in 1821. In the brochure illustration, Jose Gaspar is wearing a long coat and white hat, and he's holding a silver necklace with a jewel in the center that perfectly matched the ring I was about to bury.